Okay.
Hi, Oliver. Thank you so much for your presentation. I have a question. When you were talking about the conclusions and you were talking about some of the factors that were really important for the success. And one of the slides, it stated that so the commitment of actors, institutions, and networking are critical. And I'm wondering if you could tell us more about the networking. Is this networking of the farmers with other partners, or is this networking of farmers amongst each other? Yeah, just curious if you could clarify that.
Yes, I can see two approaches, and one is from top down by the Austrian Alpine Club with a strategical steering committee, and the other one is bottom up, organized by the municipality and the person in charge from this municipality. And together, there's a regular meeting to bring them together.
All right. Yes, so we have probably time for one question. We'll take. Thank you.
Sure. Hello, Oliver. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I'm curious, do you feel like the mountaineering aspects, that kind of the tourism, is that supporting the Landwirtschaft, the economics of the high pastures, or is it in conflict, or is healthy tension maybe? Thank you.
So from my point of view, there is only little tension. It's more because the agriculture, they preserve the cultivated landscape. It's mostly grassland, it's cattle grazing, low intensive farming. And as a byproduct of this agriculture, it's keeping the cultural landscape open. It's a combination, I would say.
All right, thanks, Oliver. We'll take this is the last, you can yield to him if you'd like, but just time for one more question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So it's Alexander Bleikner from the University of Innsbruck. It might be an internal question because it's about the exchanging of Austrian tourism. Because we did some research for your ministry, I would be interested, do you have any ideas how we can bring together the two associations, Urlaub am Bauernhof and the DMOs, a bit closer together, that they work more strategically together and also do more plannings together? You might have some ideas already. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I haven't got the point. It's a better cooperation between Farm on Holidays, the association, and the other part is
the regional DMOs or
regional development, the leader government, the leader management,
the tourism boards, the tourism associations.
Well, yes, this is a good question and a structural problem, because the tourism is mostly sectoral organized and not really, and it's quite difficult to cooperate with them.
All right, and that is exactly 20 minutes. Perfect, okay? I just wanted to remind you guys that we are not reading bios, but the bios of the speakers are available in the Hoover app. And again, you can continue asking questions for those that we didn't get to by interacting in the Hoover app. Okay, for our next speaker, is it pre-recorded or is our next speaker in? Oh, perfect. Okay, so transitioning right to the next speaker. The session is an empirical impact assessment of agritourism activities on mountain farm sustainability. So take it away, and here is your pointer down for advance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. Okay. So my presentation is part of my PhD project that I will introduce in the introduction. Then I will follow with the theoretical framework with the literature background and research hypothesis. And then with the research methods, with the sampling and data collection and data analysis, then preliminary results, and finally the conclusions. So the research aims of my PhD project is to describe possible sustainability differences between agritourism and non-agritourism farms and understand how agritourism activities affect the traditional farming. So in order to do that, what we want to do is a comparison of agritourism and non-agritourism farm with a statistical analysis that is called propensity score matching that allows us to compare those two groups. So the research questions are: how do agritourism activities change a farm from the economic, social, and environmental point of view? How do agritourism activities affect the traditional farming and operational activities of farms? And finally, are agritourism farms more sustainable from the economical, social, and environmental point of view than non-agritourism farms? So within this presentation, I will focus on this last research question, presenting you some of the preliminary results. So we consider farming as a multidimensional activity, and we divided the farm performance into economic, social, and environmental. For the economic performance, we have farm finances with income and investment, farm production and output, so the quantity and financial value of the farm products. For the social performance, we have family farm life with the quality of life, change of female tasks, and farmer identity. And then the community and neighbor relations, so the local community and neighbor interactions. Finally, for the environmental performance, we consider animal welfare with the number of animals and pets and their handling. And for the sustainability of agricultural practices, we have use of natural resources as renewable energies and the use of agrochemicals and the wildlife habitat preservation. So according to the literature, we developed our research hypothesis. And for the economic performance, the hypotheses are that with agritourism, the investment made in agriculture decreased. Traditional farming activities decreases, for example, the agricultural output, and the agricultural income and income satisfaction increase. Instead, for the social performance, the hypotheses are that with agritourism, farm family life improves, the nature of neighbors and community relation is affected, and that the presence of women running and operating in a farm increases. Finally, for the environmental performance, our hypotheses are that with agritourism, organic production methods are adopted, the farm animal composition and handling are affected, and that sustainable practices are adopted. So our study area is the Tyrol-South-Tyrol-Trentino Euroregion. So Trentino and South Tyrol are two provinces of Italy, whereas Tyrol is the southern part of Austria. So we did the data collection with an online survey with 82 questions, and it took around 15 minutes to be completed. The data collection has been done between April and July 2022, so very recently. And our sample is a convenience sample. In fact, we did the data collection by sending emails to almost 4,000 farmers. And from those, we got the 25% response rate, so 670 respondents. And after data cleaning, the user responses are 493. So the data analysis consists in the comparison of the agritourism farms that are the treatment group and the non-agritourism farms that are the control group. What I've done so far is the descriptive analysis of the survey data, and I'm going to show you the preliminary results. And what we are going to do next is the propensity score matching that allows us to compare the treatment and control group according to similar characteristics. So in this method, we have three variables. The first one is the treatment variables, so the agritourism activities. Then we have the outcome variables that are the impact indicators, so our economic, social, and environmental performance. And finally, the independent variables, so the cover rate, that are the farm and farmhouse characteristic. For example, gender, age, farm size, utilized agricultural area, and so on. So looking at the sample, we got a good balance between agritourism and non-agritourism farms. Most of our respondents are from South Tyrol, but we expected that since in South Tyrol we have almost 3,000 agritourism, and instead in Trentino we have, for example, around 400. We didn't get many answers instead from Tyrol, and so we are still thinking about considering it or not in our final analysis. So in general, the majority of our respondents are male, married or cohabitating unmarried with a high school degree, and the average altitude is 823 meters, and the average utilized agricultural area 13 hectares. The main crops are apples or pears and wine or grapes, whereas the main livestock were dairy cattle and beef cattle. So this is the sample distribution in the Trentino-South Tyrol area. As we can see from the graph, the majority are in the northern part, that is South Tyrol, but in general, we got a good distribution in the region. So the preliminary data analysis, we've done the statistic method called t-test that allows us to compare agritourism and non-agritourism and to see if there are statistical differences according to some variables. For the descriptive one, we can see the significant one that are in blue in the table. And so we can say that agritourism and non-agritourism differ according to the marital status. So more agritourism claim to have a partner than non-agritourism, and also a higher number of children living at the farm, and also family members living at the farm. Considering the farm size, agritourism are bigger in size than non-agritourism, and they also set it at a higher altitude. Considering instead the economic variables, we got significant differences for the first two variables. And so for the increase and decrease on production quantity and production volume, agritourism production quantity decreased more than non-agritourism, and also the production value. For the social variables instead, we can say that agritourism and non-agritourism differ significantly according to presence of a farm successor. So more agritourism were reported to have a farm successor than non-agritourism, and also a higher partner involvement in the farm activities. And so consequently, more agritourism are reported to have less partner having a job outside the farm. And instead, for the number of interaction with the local community, agritourism reported less interaction with non-agritourism than non-agritourism. And on the other side, for the family situation, agritourism reported a higher satisfaction than non-agritourism. Finally, for the environmental variables, agritourism and non-agritourism are statistically significantly different significantly according to, for example, the organic production. So more agritourism reported to apply organic method than non-agritourism, and also to adopt more renewable energy than non-agritourism. On the other side, agritourism reported to have to adopt less integrated pest management and wildlife habitat conservation techniques. And so also consequently, agritourism reported a higher renewable energy satisfaction than non-agritourism. So according to our preliminary results, we can accept or reject our research hypothesis. And so the preliminary descriptive survey results indicate that for the economic performance, we can reject the hypothesis, saying that with agritourism, investment in agriculture decrease, and that agricultural income and income satisfaction increase. On the other side, we accept the hypothesis saying that with agritourism, traditional farming activities decrease, for example, the agricultural output. For the social performance, we accept the hypothesis saying that with agritourism, farm family life improves, and the presence of women running and operating in agritourism increase. On the other side, we reject the hypothesis saying that with agritourism, nature, nature of neighbor and community relation is affected. Finally, for environmental performance, we accept the hypothesis saying that with agritourism, organic production methods are adopted, and we reject the one saying that with agritourism, farm animal composition and handling are affected, and sustainable practices are adopted. So to conclude, our first preliminary survey results seems to indicate that agritourism farm agricultural activities slightly declined, and tourism activities yield mixed results regarding quality of life and social interactions of farm with their communities. And also the environmental sustainability is mixed. So depending on the actual indicator, agritourism and non-agritourism, agritourism outperform non-agritourism or vice versa. Overall, we can say that there is no clear and dominant sustainability advantage of agritourism over non-agritourism farms. But the next step is to confirm those results by the econometric analysis by applying the propensity score matching method. Thank you for your attention, and if there is time for questions.
I'm just curious, what types of agritourism activities were more common with these operations?
So like hospitality or
Well,
which type?
wine tasting, or I don't know what, any particular type of activities in particular.
Oh, okay. Like that part of the survey, I have to say that I still have to do the preliminary analysis and to see the main type of agritourism. But in general, in this region, the majority offer hospitality. Yeah, that's for sure.
Hello, my name is Ilie. I'm coming from Romania, and I have a question to you because I observed a very important thing in your presentation, in your approach. You spoke about multidimensionality of the agritourism. This means there are a lot of facts defining agritourism. And in this respect, I'm wondering, and I kindly ask you to answer, if you thought about to use multidisciplinarity or interdisciplinarity approach in order to solve the global problem of agritourism. You look at agritourism from different facets, but you use only one method of analysis at this moment, an interview. This gives you an information, a limited information about the global system. Interdisciplinarity could give you a more integrated image of what agribusiness means in your country, but all around the world. So did you seem to make this kind of approach concerning multidisciplinarity research, attracting and borrowing tools, instruments from different other scientific disciplines to help in your approach? Thank you.
Okay. Like I agree. And so like probably for future studies. So for example, this is supposed to be a longitudinal study. So we are going to repeat this survey again in a few years. And so could be also interesting, for example, to apply qualitative interviews to go more in depth, and also maybe to like with other colleagues from the faculty that are that can bring knowledge also from other fields. Yeah, for now, this is the method that we decided for the PhD project, but I think we can improve it maybe in the next years.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I have an intervention in this afternoon to Clog Mountain Sea Green Sea about multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity approaches in order to assess the ecosystem, like agritourism ecosystem. If you like to follow, to look at them, I'm waiting for you there.
All right, let's take one from online and then we'll come back to the group, okay? Ashley will read it to you, and if you can just read it for the benefit of the other people.
Okay.
Oliver.
Okay. Oliver?
Hello, Giovanna. I have got a question regarding the different farm size between agritourism and non-agritourism enterprises, because the outcome is that the agritourism enterprises are bigger than the other one. Is it because of the farmland or the economic income? What's the point? It's the size of the yeah. Are they bigger or not? What is meant by bigger? What is meant by bigger? What's bigger?
More hectares in like in the farm size, so the total farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for me it sounds weird, because it's often the other way around. In Austria, yes. The other ones are bigger.
Okay.
Well, but yeah, it's just my personal opinion.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess for the different sample.
So I saw a really interesting piece. I'm always hopeful that agritourism is going to work out. And it looked like in your analysis, your final conclusions that that the agricultural practices declined with agritourism. That was, I think was true, correct? That they declined over time with agritourism?
Yeah, we asked about thinking about their production from 2017 compared to now, and we asked to try to don't consider COVID. Yeah, and I can also show you.
Well, so if that's true, that what I think is interesting is because you also had the metric that then family stays, the next generation, is that also with agritourism stays, the farm continues longer with agritourism.
Yeah.
So even though you have your production declining, if it's staying in the family, it's possible that exposure to agritourism, to agriculture through agritourism will actually maintain the farm for longer. So even though the agricultural product is declining, there's a metric that could be really interesting in looking at this. It might have a long-term sustainability factor.
Yeah.
I looked at the negative of like, oh, shoot, the agriculture is declining, but if it's continuing the farm, then there's a hope for that.
Yeah, better than abandoning the farm.
Right, then the farm like having a high production, but then having it,
Yeah, thank you.
One short question. Thank you.
Well, really great research, Giulia.
Thank you.
And one of the things I wonder about with the South Tyrol, there's such an intense disparity between the fruit farmers, particularly the apple farmers and the livestock farmers. And so I think almost at a disadvantage starting with the research in some ways and trying to compare the economics of those. I'd be really interested to know just that, because it seems very often in the alpine, the higher scenarios, there's a real advantage to the agritourism there, where the income levels are often so low in comparison to the apple orchards, where it's, I think the last figures were like 10 to 25,000 euros per hectare net profit for those folks. So I wonder if you need at some point to parse out to separate even kind of the distinctions between the lowland fruit farmers and the highland livestock farmers, just because it's such a complicated equation.
Oh yeah, with the propensity score matching, then we will compare them, agritourism and non-agritourism, according to the similar characteristics. So we are going to divide them also according to the type of farm that they have, so crops and animals, so to have a better comparison, and consistent. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay.